Decades after the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson was still harvesting asparagus from beds he had planted at Monticello. And in England, a single rhubarb plant has fed the same family for over 150 years, passed down like a living heirloom through 6 generations. Welcome to Stella Eureka. Today we're uncovering 10 resilient perennial crops, nature's forgotten cheat codes, that could help us face the challenges of climate change. These plants don't surrender each winter. They endure, regenerate, and keep producing year after year. While neighbors replant tomatoes and peppers in a constant cycle of labor, you could be harvesting from crops that treat the seasons as little more than suggestions. And wait until you uncover the forbidden grain the Spanish conquistadors tried to erase forever. They called it devil's food, but it may be the most climate-proof crop on Earth. There's something almost magical about asparagus season, that brief window when emerald spears pierce through the soil like nature's own resurrection story. Thomas Jefferson knew this magic intimately. At Monticello, his meticulously planned asparagus beds became the stuff of legend, producing tender spears year after year. Jefferson's garden journals reveal his obsession with this most excellent vegetable. Ancient Romans were also obsessed with these asparagus that they developed the first recorded seed-starting techniques just to extend the growing season. Emperor Augustus even coined the phrase "faster than cooking asparagus" to describe anything done with great speed, because even royalty couldn't wait for this delicacy. But here's what makes asparagus the crown jewel of perennial crops. Beneath your feet lies an underground empire. Each asparagus plant develops a crown system that resembles an octopus made of roots with thick, fleshy tentacles that can dive 6 feet deep and spread wider than your arms can reach. This living fortress stores enough energy to launch a spring offensive that would make any gardener jealous. The asparagus crown is essentially a carbohydrate battery, charged all summer by tall, fern-like foliage that most people mistakenly cut down too early. Those wispy green fronds are solar collectors, pumping energy into the root system all season long. Come spring, that stored power explodes upward in a display that can produce 25 to 30 spears per crown, with the fattest ones growing an astonishing 10 inches in a single day. The investment requires patience. Plant in year 1, harvest lightly in year 3, then enjoy the bounty for the next 2 decades. Smart gardeners know that asparagus beds are like fine wine or vintage guitars. They get better with age, and the wait makes every bite taste like victory. Meet the Egyptian walking onion, a vegetable so independent it literally walks around your garden, planting itself wherever it pleases, creating new colonies like a botanical pioneer settling the frontier. The name is another geographical mix-up that would confuse a GPS system. These onions aren't Egyptian, they're actually from Europe, which somehow picked up their exotic moniker along the trade routes. What they are is pure gardening genius, a perennial onion that grows bulbs on top of its stems, then uses those bulbs as seeds, bending over like a green giraffe to plant the next generation arm's length away. Picture this remarkable process. In late summer, instead of flowers, the onion shoots develop clusters of tiny bulblets at their tips. As these aerial onions grow heavier, they bend the parent stem toward the ground like a loaded fishing rod. When the bulbs touch soil, they instantly take root, creating new plants while still connected to mama. It's nature's version of a walking stick, except the stick plants itself wherever it lands. This wandering behavior means your onion patch literally expands itself year after year. A single clump planted today will march across your garden bed, dropping colonies of baby onions like Johnny Appleseed with attitude. Within 3 years, you could have dozens of plants scattered across a 10-foot radius, all descended from your original starter set. Every part of the walking onion earns its keep. The bulbs taste like mild storage onions, perfect for cooking. The green shoots provide chive-like flavor all season long. Even the aerial bulblets can be pickled like pearl onions, or planted to expand your army of self-propagating vegetables. In the hills of ancient Sicily, Roman emperors paid outrageous sums for a single artichoke, a price so steep that only the wealthiest patricians could afford what we now consider a simple garden staple. These magnificent thistles were currency, medicine, and culinary treasure rolled into one spiny package, coveted across the Mediterranean like edible emeralds. Fast forward to your backyard, where you can grow these same imperial delicacies with surprising ease. Globe artichokes are architectural marvels, towering perennial plants that transform any garden into a Mediterranean fantasy. Their silvery blue leaves spread like giant hands, creating dramatic focal points that make neighbors stop mid-jog to stare. But the real showstoppers are the flower buds themselves, those iconic scaled globes that develop like green roses the size of softballs. Each plant operates like a generous ant, producing anywhere from 5 to 15 artichokes per season, depending on your climate and care. In mild winter zones, established plants can harvest nearly year-round, while colder regions enjoy spectacular spring and fall crops. The timing is perfect. Just when grocery store artichokes hit $3 each, your plants are cranking out enough to feed the neighborhood. Here's the secret most gardeners miss. Artichokes are essentially edible flowers harvested before they bloom. Miss the harvest window, and those tight buds explode into purple thistles so spectacular that florists pay premium prices for the cutting stems. It's like growing your own floral arrangements that also happen to produce gourmet vegetables. The plants demand respect, full sun, rich soil, and plenty of space to spread their 4-foot wingspan. But reward their royal treatment, and these Mediterranean monarchs will grace your table for 5 to 7 years with harvests that would make Caesar jealous. When Spanish conquistadors first encountered amaranth ceremonies in Aztec temples, they witnessed something that terrified them more than any weapon: a grain so sacred that warriors mixed it with human blood to create edible statues of their gods. The Spanish response was swift and brutal. They banned amaranth cultivation entirely, threatening death to anyone caught growing the devil's grain. Yet somehow this ancient superfood survived 500 years of suppression to emerge as one of the most nutritionally perfect crops on Earth. Amaranth earned its name from the Greek Amaranthos, meaning never fading, and the plant lives up to its immortal reputation in spectacular fashion. While other grains wither under drought, heat, or poor soil, amaranth thrives like it's auditioning for a survival reality show. NASA has seriously considered amaranth for space missions because of its exceptional nutritional density and ability to grow in challenging conditions that would kill wheat or rice. The plant itself is pure drama, towering stalks that can reach 8 feet tall, crowned with cascading plumes of tiny flowers in colors ranging from deep burgundy to brilliant gold. These aren't just pretty faces, though. Each flower head produces thousands of seeds so small they look like glitter, yet they pack more complete protein than almost any other plant source. We're talking about all 9 essential amino acids in perfect proportions, plus iron levels that make spinach look anemic. Here's where amaranth gets really clever. It's technically not a grain at all, but a pseudo-cereal that behaves like a grain while delivering vegetable-level nutrition. The leaves are equally valuable. Harvest them young for salads that taste like mild spinach, or let them mature for cooking greens that outperform kale in mineral content. Plant amaranth once, and you'll likely never need to replant. The seeds drop naturally, creating volunteer crops that return year after year with zero effort from you. Where amaranth reaches toward the heavens with colorful plumes, our next perennial crop prefers to keep its most valuable assets buried deep in the darkness. There's a reason horseradish has survived in gardens for over 3,000 years without a single breeding program, pesticide treatment, or gardening manual. This plant is basically indestructible. Ancient Egyptians fed it to slaves building the pyramids for strength. Greeks used it as medicine, and medieval Europeans discovered that a tiny scrape of fresh root could preserve meat through entire winters. When you plant a single horseradish root, you have essentially signed a lifetime contract with one of nature's most persistent tenants. This isn't hyperbole. Horseradish roots dive deep into soil like living jackhammers, sometimes reaching 8 feet down in loose soils if undisturbed, creating a taproot system so robust it can push through hard-pan clay that defeats most other plants. Break off even a tiny piece during harvest, and that fragment will sprout into a full plant by next spring. The secret happens in those thick white roots that look deceptively innocent until you grate them fresh. That's when horseradish releases its secret weapon, allyl isothiocyanate, the same compound that makes wasabi burn. But where wasabi costs $200 per pound and loses potency within 15 minutes, horseradish delivers the same sinus-clearing fire for pennies and maintains its kick for months when stored in vinegar. Smart gardeners treat horseradish like buried treasure, literally. The roots improve with age, developing more complex heat and flavor as they mature. A 5-year-old horseradish root can pack enough punch to clear sinuses 3 counties over, while providing medicinal compounds that traditional healers have used for everything from respiratory ailments to digestive issues. The best part is, horseradish thrives on neglect. Forget to water it, ignore it all summer, even try to kill it, this root laughs at your attempts and comes back stronger. What if your salad greens could outlast your mortgage? Sorrel transforms any garden corner into a tangy treasure trove that returns year after year, asking for nothing but delivering gourmet flavor with the reliability of sunrise. This hardy perennial unfurls broad, arrow-shaped leaves that shimmer with an almost metallic green sheen, their surfaces smooth as silk yet sturdy enough to weather frost, drought, and neglect. When young, the leaves emerge tender and bright, perfect for fresh eating, while mature leaves develop a deeper, more robust tartness that transforms soups and sauces into culinary masterpieces. French chefs have treasured sorrel for centuries, calling it osé and featuring it in classic dishes like sorrel soup and fish sauces. Medieval monks cultivated it in monastery gardens not just for its distinctive lemony bite, but for its reputation as a blood purifier and digestive aid. The plant's name derives from the Old French sorrella, meaning sour, a testament to its signature tangy punch that can make your mouth pucker with delight. Unlike annual greens that demand replanting, sorrel establishes deep taproots that anchor it for decades, sending up fresh harvests from early spring through late fall. Its unique oxalic acid content creates that distinctive sour flavor that intensifies as leaves mature, making it nature's own souring agent. Today's farm-to-table restaurants prize sorrel for its bright acidity that cuts through rich dishes, while home gardeners discover it's virtually indestructible once established. While sorrel delivers its lemony punch to your taste buds, our next crop serves up a feast for the eyes. Forget everything you know about kale's short lifespan. This isn't your grocery store green that bolts after one season. Perennial kale stands defiantly in gardens for years, its thick, woody stems branching skyward like a miniature tree crowned with emerald leaves that laugh at winter's worst tantrums. These remarkable plants develop into shrub-like structures reaching 3 to 4 feet tall, their sturdy branches adorned with deeply lobed leaves that range from blue-green to purple-tinged, depending on the cold. Unlike its annual cousins, perennial kale's leaves grow thicker and more substantial with a texture that holds up beautifully to cooking while maintaining a sweet, nutty flavor that becomes more complex with each passing season. Portuguese sailors carried these hardy varieties across oceans centuries ago, relying on their incredible storage life and resistance to scurvy during long voyages. In the Azores and coastal Europe, perennial kale still grows wild along cliff tops, its deep roots anchoring it against salt spray and fierce Atlantic winds. What sets perennial kale apart is its ability to regenerate continuously. Harvest outer leaves and the plant simply grows more, transforming from a single crown into a multi-branched powerhouse that can feed a family year-round. Its cold tolerance borders on supernatural, with leaves actually sweetening after frost kisses them. Modern homesteaders prize these varieties for their independence, requiring minimal care once established while providing consistent nutrition through seasons when other vegetables fail. In ancient China, daylilies weren't grown in flower beds. They were cultivated in vegetable gardens, prized as golden needles, and considered essential ingredients for imperial cuisine. Centuries before Europeans discovered these hardy blooms, Chinese cooks were incorporating every part of the plant into their meals, from tender shoots in spring stir-fries to dried buds that added nutty sweetness to winter soups. Here's what modern gardeners are just rediscovering. Daylilies are essentially perennial vegetables disguised as ornamental flowers. Each plant produces dozens of buds throughout the growing season, and every single one is edible, crispy raw in salads, stuffed like miniature squash blossoms, or sautéed until they taste like sweet green beans with floral notes that would make a chef weep. But daylilies don't stop at flowers. The young shoots that emerge in spring taste remarkably similar to asparagus, while the tuberous roots can be harvested like small sweet potatoes. Even the flower petals, once they've bloomed and faded, can be dried and stored as natural food coloring that turns ordinary dishes into Instagram-worthy masterpieces. What makes daylilies truly remarkable is their relentless productivity. Unlike their namesake lilies that bloom briefly and disappear, daylilies keep cranking out buds from early summer through fall frost. A mature clump can produce over 200 buds in a single season. That's enough edible flowers to supply a small restaurant, all from a plant that requires less maintenance than most houseplants. The plants multiply like botanical rabbits, doubling in size every few years until you have enough divisions to line entire walkways. They tolerate everything from blazing sun to deep shade, drought to flooding, and soil so poor that weeds struggle to survive. These 10 perennial crops prove that the old saying, "work smarter, not harder," has never been more urgent. In a world facing climate change and food insecurity, plants like Jefferson's asparagus, Aztec amaranth, and rhubarb passed down through generations aren't just curiosities, they are survival tools. Consider what we've uncovered: onions that plant themselves, horseradish roots that thrive on neglect, and daylilies that turn a flower bed into a self-sustaining pantry. Together, they form the backbone of a true survival garden, designed to endure when annual crops fail. And remember, the best time to plant a perennial was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Start now, and your future self, or even your grandchildren, will inherit food security rooted in endurance. Which of these crops would you plant first? Are you already harvesting from one or more of them? Let us know in the comments, and if you want to keep exploring nature's most extraordinary answers to survival, hit subscribe and share Stella Eureka with someone who could use these crops in their garden. Until next time, this is Stella Eureka, signing off.